Finally, carving out time to knock this out. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for me lately with full-time jobs, side projects, all that real life stuff. But I want to make sure I didn't skip this one. Star Citizen's had some cool updates lately, and even though 4.1 isn't a massive patch, there's still enough that caught my eye. So let's talk ships, gameplay loops, and even a surprise about CitizenCon if you haven't been keeping up lately. Well, welcome everybody. This is the April Roadmap Roundup for April 9th, so just a few days ago. Pretty sparse overall, but I think each bullet point contains some pretty nice items overall. They've really had a focus on gameplay and performance, and I think it shows. There's been a lot of fun stuff, really good variety. It's not such monumental pieces anymore. It's just little bits that they keep building off of, and I think overall it looks pretty good. I think there's some fun stuff here. I know personally for me, I've been having a lot more fun with just how well the game's running. Still far from perfect, but at least when I can hop in with some friends, it's not just constant crashing and stupid bugs and things like that. So whatever lit the flame under Sig's ass, super happy about that. So thank you, universe. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right into it, starting with these space combat missions they're adding. This is cool to me because I'm hoping with good gameplay that means more new players, and it is a pretty complex game. There's a pretty steep learning curve, so I'm not sure if these are going to be tutorials or actual contracts in the contract manager, but either way, if it's something that helps people learn the game, and they've tried different approaches over the years as far as kind of educating new players, but definitely like seeing this. Just means more people are a little more knowledgeable about the game and having a good experience. The redacted one's a little interesting. I'm not sure if that's going to be, like some big event or what that means, but I would assume it's going to at least be somewhat distinct from, say, bounty hunting, where you just, basically go and blow up a few ships. So we will see how that goes, but I like that. It's at least mysterious. Juvenile Valacar. So back at CitizenCon 2954, they had talked about essentially introducing this monster hunting gameplay loop, which to me is super exciting. Just adds variety, kind of this exploration aspect. And since it's a space game and you don't really have limits on how alien a creature is, they can add really whatever they feel like, and that to me is fun. So whether it flies or it burrows in the ground like the Valacar, yeah, some fun stuff for sure. The juvenile Valakars should be the smallest of them, and you have to keep finding the larger and larger ones to eventually get to, I guess, what is the mature Valakar. It's basically the one that gives you the loot you're after to turn in or use for crafting. So this could just be initially for the gameplay loop, doing some bug testing and just kind of initial introduction. But I liked at least that they're giving it a shot and starting to introduce it. So happy to see that one on the list. And then just as in, like 3.23, that they had started to introduce, sort of a good refined pass on cargo. Now they're talking about doing this for mining. And so, there's another new mining ship as well as an Atlas variant specifically focused on mining that also can fly around, which is kind of cool. I think that'll be fun. But they are released, so that's all good. And hope to see more and more improvements there. In fact, the Pioneer has moved to a white box pass, so that tells me that they're not going to release the Pioneer unless it can do base building. And the other ground-based vehicle for base building is also being worked on. So, in my mind, some of the bigger pieces needed for base building is resources, right? How do we get them there? We need a good system for transporting those resources and also farming the resources with mining vehicles. So I like where this is going. It's a slow build up to base building, which I think will really change the game. I'm super excited about it, but I'm sure we have to wait another year or so. Regardless, I like how they do these kind of phased approaches to focusing on different aspects of the game. So right now, it's more mining focused. So definitely cool. Arena Commander stuff, if you're into that, I think that's fine that they add it. I don't know that it's that exciting, but it is a good way to practice and get good at the game. Otherwise, there's been some new other stuff they've added. So, the introduction of the Banu with Wakelo's Emporium. So that's pretty cool. And it kind of gives you that collector type vibe from Marvel, if you're familiar with that. And overall, just cool to finally introduce aliens, in this case, the Banu. And also just, you know, challenges. Yeah, it's kind of a basic system in terms of go find these resources or go find this loot, turn it in, get special prize. But it's still fun in a game that's so large, and you can actually explore. That opens a lot of doors, even if right now it's pretty basic. Um, this Align and Mine, again, mining focus, probably for the next couple patches, at least minor patches. Um, so yeah, just more event type stuff. I think that's always good to go. No complaints there, especially if you like mining. Um, and then let's see what else. Otherwise, there's some new armor. So, you know, is it that exciting? I don't know. It's still fun though. It adds the aesthetic, and I think it makes the game, get a little more character every time they add armor or weapons. So that's always nice to see. Which I'll just kind of bounce around. But the new Volt Parallax, that is a super fun weapon. It's so different from everything else. I mean, before it was kind of basic. You basically have either a regular gun, so it shoots ballistic ammo, or basically laser weapons. Some type of energy weapon. But the Parallax is like super different, and it just yeah, again, it's like a futuristic sci-fi game. So really playing into that just makes for some cool gameplay. So I like seeing that. And then this new, I guess you could call it an event, but the whole Hathor, uh, there's basically the satellite plus the mining station, and that's how you can basically do that little loop and then get access to the mining materials with the hole it blows in the ground. Cool. I like this kind of stuff, and in fact, one benefit I've already had from it is just flying near that area now attracts more attention. So, as you have larger and larger servers with, I think we're up to 600 players now, I actually bump into people. There's actually people out there, and it turns into some battles, and your ship gets shot down or you shoot them down. But just because there is something to contest, that naturally brings people to it, and that naturally leads to different conflicts since it is an open world game. And yeah, it's a little more dynamic. It gets spicy, but that's the fun part. So it's cool, again, seeing like some life getting breathed into the world. So yeah, overall, super happy to see with that. And then yeah, just from the kind of release view, they have released most of this stuff, or at least committed to it. So making a lot of progress there. And again, CitizenCon talked about kind of this armor specialization where you can get bonuses from these sets. So that's not all implemented right now, but getting the armor in the game is important. So I think it's stuff that for now it's just cool, but I think eventually it will have actual meaning in terms of how you play the game, which armor loadout you go with, and things like that. So happy to see with all that going on. And yeah, otherwise, nothing too crazy, nothing that's necessarily a surprise. We've got the vehicles released, but yeah, really the only stuff they still need to work on are some of these space combat missions, and then also more Volt weapons. So the Parallax, they've done an awesome job. Like I said, it's a super fun weapon. The Quartz, we'll see how that goes, but yeah, Volt stuff, cool. It took a little longer than it was supposed to, like most things Star Citizen, but yeah, really impressed. And then lastly, the last thing I have for you guys is CitizenCon is only going to be online this go around. So if you haven't heard this news, it's been out for about a week now, but yeah, it's going to be October 11th, but it is going to be only on Twitch and YouTube, which is interesting. It's an interesting departure. They've been doing these in-person events forever and ever, but honestly, it's a very global game. People play this game from all over the world, which is awesome. But with that, it does present challenges in terms of, well, how do you get everyone all in one place? And you're going to sell out. You can only get so many people there, and then they end up broadcasting it in a hybrid fashion anyway. And what do you prioritize? The in-person experience or um, the online experience? And especially when they're getting actual like full-size ships commissioned and things like that, very cool. But if they're burning money on things like that when they could be making the game better, I think they have the right priority. And frankly, this could be a temporary departure. If they keep making the game better and better, people are going to buy into it, and I think long term they'll be fine. So I think this is a good call, and they're being smart with their money. And I think should benefit all of us. And ultimately, what we're after is the information anyway. So I think people can still connect. You can still be chatting online. There's not all negatives. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and whether you're deep in the verse or just curious about what's new, thanks for stopping by. There's more to come soon, so until next time.